This is the Open University.
This is not the real Open University. This is the Momus Open University.
Welcome back to the Open University, where we're talking today about strangers that I've seen and snapped on the street and enjoyed. I don't mean in any rude sense enjoyed, but I've enjoyed their outfits. And I wanted to start with some pictures of us. This is us walking along the street in our neighborhood in Paris, and we're dressed to the nines. No, we're not really dressed to the nines. We're dressed to about the sevens, the 7.5s. This is a coat that Naomi got in Barcelona just the other day for 25 euros. I think it had a special reduction. So Naomi looks as if she's wearing black. Wow, what strange acoustics in this bandstand. Naomi looks as if she's wearing black, but she's actually wearing a very dark bottle green. I think it's an important distinction.
So Nicholas is wearing shoes from Muji and a jacket from... Where is this jacket from? Humana?
It's from Humana in Berlin.
And a pyjama top from...
This is a Spanish pajama top. Every Humana in Spain, I go straight to the nightwear section because I love the patterns on the pajamas in Spain. It's very unique culture. Although they're nylon industrially produced, they're very local. And these are from Asia. We actually found a shop in Paris that sells these, but I like to tell people that they're very cheap. They're €1.50, but you've got to fly to Seoul to get them. That's no longer true. You can buy them in Chinese shops in Belgium. And these trousers are actually Muslim trousers cut down. They're actually baggy. And they're supposed to taper, but I just cut them.
I buy the synthesizers, they were me until the answer side. Remember at the side as they were me until the song rise.
This is just the walls of a school, which shows fencing ladies. And I wanted to say that these are the only kind of sportswear that I would countenance coming back. The sportswear of ancient fencing. I know modern fencers don't wear that anymore.
You go by all the lights, you were braid of past. They hide it in a corner of a tapestry of sounds.
This is Swing Tap, which is a tap dancing studio. And this is another case of, this is a sportswear that I could happily see coming back because tap dancing. Is a form of elegance. Of course, the avatars of elegance of the past have vanished. And here we have a cosplay shop on the Rue Keller in Paris, in the 11th arrondissement. And this is another little sub-genre where you could find interesting things, but it's all very badly made. This could be another source of sartorial redemption, which is ecclesiastical garb. Modernist ecclesiastical garb. I like this gnomic contradiction paradox. Nous ne sommes pas ouverts, nous ne sommes pas fermés non plus. We're not open, we're not closed. It reminds me of Howard Devota's line, "My mind today is so open that anything could crawl right in." We've just left the Rue de Bretagne in Le Marais. We're passing the mairie of the 3rd arrondissement and the Carousel du Temple. Here we have no cars at all, which is wonderful, no motorbikes, or mostly no motorbikes. And this is the lair, he says in the David Attenborough voice, of the pretentious git, the fashion victim. We're going to a place called the Broken Arm, which has a little coffee stall run by a Dreamin' Man, a Japanese cafe. And you will see some of the most interestingly dressed and also expensively dressed people in Paris there. There it is, and there's nobody. Oh yes, we have a couple spotted. They're not dressed very interestingly though. They love Derek Jarman here, and they have his lyrics, which I sang in this last film. And they have some pretentious magazines for people here. And a copy of The Face from 1987, which is brings us to the topic of retro. And here's some tartan. So this brings us to the topic of tartan's dominance this year. We also have here some retro cassettes, including a Yoko Ono record, and we have the folk music in Spain on analog vinyl. So this is all about an escape to the past. And here displayed in the gift section, the gift shop of Broken Arm, we have an Alan Lomax recording of Aunt Molly Jackson and Tex Skladden, the finest traditional singers in the United States. Songs of protest.
Until the answer side. Remember it beside us there were me, but just on the rides. They go by all the lights, you were braid of past. They hide it in a corner of a tapestry of sound.
So the next time someone calls you pretentious for expressing yourself through your clothes, just smile and say thank you. Because here's the truth. There's nothing pretentious about celebrating who you are. Style is power. Style is you. Own it. Thank you, ChatGPT, for that script. So this is a famous location where we invented a charm point pigeon, which is one of our in-jokes. Basically, we were giving a rating to everybody walking past here. Not so much out of 10, but just saying what their charm point was. And then a pigeon walked past and we said, charm point, pigeon. This was the beginning of Noemi's fascination with pigeons and their plumage and coloration. She noticed that they were all different. These apparently ugly urban birds have their own beauty, their own charm.
Now every time I play a tune, stars play it back to me. We've got a tape recorder that wave around. We hide it in a corner for tapestry of sound.
We're coming up to I.O. Cafe, which is good, although it has very little seating space. And our FR bookshop, which is like the fashion and art bookshop really that's been here for years. Let's see what titles they have on the outside tables. System Beauty, Vogue. This looks like the new Paul Haig album. Pin-Up is a good magazine, Architecture and Urbanism. This is a nice, optimistic piece of art.
From optimal shores, all of Rio now adores the way I ride and glide and slide my nose. The river that loves me except goes.
I bought a synthesizer, portal to the stars, an apple appetizer, and now we're playing on the bars. Melodies from old timid shores, all of Rio now adores the way I ride and glide and slide my nose. Everybody loves me except crows.
Okay, this guy wins at everything. This guy wins at life. This skirt. So this is an image that was plastered huge on video screens across the front of the Pompidou Center just before the Olympic Games, and it shows that the dominant and defining event of this year in Paris has been the Olympics, which is a good way in to talk about sportswear, athleisure, whatever you want to call it, which is the dominant demotic narrative for clothes now, as opposed to maybe 40, 50 years ago when it would have been more tailored clothes, more formal clothes, and also more interestingly colored clothes, I think. So I think one of the templates that we reject as people who dress to walk around in the city of Paris is sportswear, athleisure, and also to some extent Americanisms like denim, and also Berlinisms like wearing black all the time. This is the kind of stuff we wear. This is Noemi in Barcelona, and she's modeling a cape we found at Humana there, with an eclectic selection of other clothes, mostly from second-hand places in Paris or Seoul or Tokyo, actually. I think the thing underneath was from a shop called Mam at Juso in Osaka. This is, I call this a Poussin look. It's a bright yellow, fluffy chicken kind of coat. Somebody browsing at OFR Paris. Here's Noemi downstairs at a new shop, I forget the name actually, opposite the Carrousel du Temple. And she's wearing a hand-knitted or hand-crocheted hood or balaclava made by her sister Ikaria. These people also have hand-knitted balaclavas, and I really like their look. I think they're Japanese, and I'm pretty sure those are hand-knitted, although I'd like to know if someone makes them like that. This is in the back room at OFR. This guy was in a branch of the coffee, and it looked like he worked in a local fashion shop because he was dressed quite eccentrically in a kind of long shift skirt. Perhaps he was doing shift work. Workwear is not something we reject, unless it's denim jeans, which has really escaped the workwear kind of definition. This is a fisherman in a mosaic scene in the 18th arrondissement. And I like, first of all, I like the decay. I like the wabi-sabi character that's given it a slightly spooky edge. But also I like his waders, his bright red top, and the carrelage, the tiling which represents him. Relique defined the last 5 years in terms of our second-hand purchases. It had 3 store locations in Paris at one point a couple of years ago. Clara Victoria, who runs the shop, got sick of that and was going through various personal crises. So she now just has this pop-up Relique in a kind of lock-up in the Marché Saint-Ouen. This coat, for instance, is a classic Relique 60s coat. Art fairs are a good place for people spotting, and we liked this guy. I mean, he's wearing denim, and then he's got this weird kind of sweater, which is, I guess it's upcycling the denim skirt, and then some pants below it. I think they're all sewn together to make a kind of freakish lower garment. He looks a bit like Eno might have looked in 1972 when he was working with the Scratch Orchestra. This is also someone at the International Art Fair. I'm not really into this look. He looks like a bit of a slacker, 90s style slacker, surfer, skate dude. But, it's different. And I quite like clown pants, especially tartans. This is a lady in the coupons department in the 18th arrondissement, the coupons area where you buy little samples of cloth and fabric with patterns and colors. She looks like a mad person, or eccentric anyway. I'm sure people look at me and think I'm mad or eccentric as well. But I kind of often focus on mad-looking people or weird-looking old people because they have a sense of personality. This lady we spotted near our local market, and I think she pretty much wins out of all these strangers dressed interestingly. I really like the combination of her skirt and the red carrier bag and her scarf. Headscarves I really like, especially on men, headscarves like that. And I don't know, she has a sense of purpose, and for some reason it works as an outfit. Somebody seen on the streets of Berlin wearing a white skirt kind of very Chinese, actually, skirt. But it was a German, I think. This is Acne, the window of Acne, which, they've got an artist to do the mannequins, and it looks interesting in the window, but actually their stock is very disappointing. It's really gone normcore, it's gone mainstream, it's a lot of fatigued denim and stuff. No doubt the cut is interesting. This is somebody spotted at the Maybachhofer, the now Köln Flow Market, it's called, one of my favourite markets in Berlin, dressed in a kind of Vietnamese farmer garb, but with a Palestinian shawl, is that right? It could be a Palestinian support shawl. Some Chinese up at Belleville, outside a Chinese supermarket, and they're actually selling vegetables on the street, Chinese vegetables. This guy also in Belleville, he's got a kind of cartoon characters shirt, Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner and stuff. Calimero on his shirt, and Tweety Bird, and I don't know, it is almost athleisure, isn't it? But it's also like a Jamaican Gauster look. I think mascots and characters are quite an important influence on us. Not that you can really dress like a mascot, because they mostly wear kind of fake fur. But this guy, he could be the Namahage monster from Aomori. He's got a backpack on and he's on a bottle of sake. This is somebody at a local market in Paris wearing African fabric, which I always appreciate for the sheer bursts of colour. And this is from an exhibition at the Pompidou Centre of 1960s and 70s children's design. So what I appreciate here is just that the children in the photograph are wearing very tailored. I also like trad Korean costume. So Noemi and I last year dressed up like this to go to the palace in Seoul. This is more like the Matthew Barney school of outrageous prosthetic fashion. So I'm not advocating that people walk down the street with testicles hanging off their chins, but, well, maybe. Yeah, why not? This is our one concession to Americana, is that when Gilles and Flo, our Paris friends, came back from their American trip this year, they both had these lumberjack check shirts, a bit grungy, but also a bit more plain, and very self-consciously worn by Europeans to make a gesture towards Americana, but it's not really very American, is it? This is almost a Bedouin kind of costume that Noemi's wearing experimentally at home. She hasn't gone out dressed like that because, I don't know, it might seem weird or disrespectful or something. This is from the art school, the Beaux-Arts in Paris, and it's some students dressed up from the fashion department or the art department. I don't know if they tried to be sculptural. It's certainly very sculptural with wire under the black fabric. The black is what puts me off a little bit. Black and cream is a bit of a fashion cliche. The hair is interesting, though. This is in a Chinese supermarket, but it's an African lady wearing African fabrics. This guy, I mean, the photograph obviously is playing on the similarities between his outfit and the trash can, but I had to admire his courage in wearing this skirt and this weird kind of super turf top. I don't normally go for t-shirts, but this was a good one, a Sento scene. This is from the Venice Biennale, the Giardini, and it's just the rain cape that I like here. Pink rain capes. Sometimes Venice has unexpected showers. The Biennale was very themed around marginal modernist painters from, say, the mid-20th century, from the developing world, from the global south. And usually that's for the benefit of the visitors who are white, Caucasian art lovers. But these were, I think, Egyptian women looking at it with a big smile. Here's somebody, a Vietnamese flower seller, actually on a barge in Venice, and I like how that brings a little of the oriental flair that Venice always has to the surface. And this is the Mercatino San Martino, which is a church charity second-hand and vintage clothes stall, which only opens after 4 o'clock on weekdays at the church. Slightly out of the way place in Venice, which most tourists don't go to, but it's near the Arsenale. So we we've got a lot of good stuff. Sort of old lady, basically the congregation of the church dying and leaving their clothes to the church, I would imagine. This is fabrics at the Berlin Maybach-Hofer market, and I just like the kind of 70s, well, sort of postmodern 80s kind of look of some of those fabrics, and they're also very typographical. A typical Chinese or Vietnamese lady going into the Dong Thuan market, the Asian market in Berlin. They always wear these funny hats which look like Clara Bow kind of 1920s hats. And someone inside that same market wearing bright colours. This lady's at the Maybach-Hofer and she's riding her tricycle past the market stalls. This is Humana Berlin, which has hiked its prices recently and spends a lot of money on advertising like this. Unlike the Spanish Humanas, which keep cutting their prices and having special sell-off days. This is an art poster, and it's showing that costume in dance and theatre can actually be an inspiration for fashion. Look at those amazing hairdos. This is from the museum in Frankfurt dedicated to Struwwelpeter, and it's a Portuguese edition of Struwwelpeter. And I think Struwwelpeters are always an inspiration. He's so naughty and he's also very funky. It reminds me a bit of Mark Bolan in the early 70s when he was cool, on the cover of The Slider. This is our friend Sikong looking at Blossom this spring, last spring. The colour's quite acidic and bright, almost toxic, but I think she really pulls off a kind of spring look here, especially when you're looking at blossoms. This is Denis Lavant, and it's almost a how not to dress picture, but I kind of admire him for dressing like a homeless hobo, although he's a famous actor and could no doubt afford, the best of everything. There's an African dressed lady in my local supermarket, and I think this is a great kind of, again, Burberry kind of look, with some roses in the middle of it, and just the boldness of that garment and of the colours and shapes with the red hem. It blows me away. We can't talk about this year without talking about K-pop. I had a K-pop album out, and this is New Jeans on the cover of Girls magazine, and they're wearing tartan, and I find that, as a Scot, I find that quite heartening, that tartan should have a kind of revival in 2024 because of some South Koreans. This is some fashion magazines, and this is the kind of thing that people mock about fashion magazines, but I think it's au contraire, I would rather people were pretentious and had stylists doing very outrageous things that you would actually have to have a lot of balls to wear on the street than everything just revert to the exact cut of denim or the kind of snobbish brands getting into streetwear and athleisure.
Open University.
This is not the real Open University. This is the Momus Open University.
This is BBC Two. Now Bob Harris introduces this week's edition of the Old Grey Whistle Test.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, all right? Thank you.